You can try, but I won't stop, won't stop. Won't stop. Won't stop. Won't stop. You can try, but I won't stop, won't stop. I can't stop. I can't stop. You can try, but I won't stop, won't stop.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 2024 Lead Kent debate for Vice President of Academic Experience. My name is Louisa, and I'm a journalist at Inquire Student Media. Thank you for joining us. Today, I'm joined by your three candidates for Vice President of Academic Experience, so we're just going to jump right into it. If each of you could just take a minute to introduce yourself and give your opening statement. Kritika, go first.
So, hello, I'm Kritika Rumta. My mission here is to make your experience, our experience, more fruitful, more enjoyable, and a huge part of that is being able to develop a positive attitude about all the challenges we face. I think it's so important to remember that, we're so grateful to have this experience, to have the ability to have a higher education. Now, saying that, I do not intend to overlook all the challenges and all the struggles we endure during this period. In fact, it's my mission to turn those around and make that the stepping stone of making our experience better.
Great. Ayo, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Ayo, and I'm thrilled to be here before all of you as a candidate for VP of Academic Experience. I hope to transform the academic experience to help make every student's lives here at Kent more enjoyable, better, easier, and healthier to ensure that you make the most of your time here when studying, so you remember this from years to come.
Great.
Thank you very much. Hello, I'm Nicolette, and thank you for tuning in. So my vision is to create a university culture that values not only academic empowerment, but also nurtures personal growth and well-being. And I want to use the insights that I've gained through my experience at university and the connections that I've created to make meaningful improvements and fight for the student voice.
Fantastic. With that, we're going to jump into our questions. So our first question today is, how do you intend to assure that students are supported and improve their academic experience? Nicolette, if you wanted to start off.
So first of all, I think connection is the most important thing. What I mean by that is, so I was speaking to someone about this earlier, but after COVID, I think it's really put a dent into being a student at university. I think it impacted all of us, but specifically at university, I think it eroded part of the connection in the university, and the student experience went with that. And so in the School of Psychology, as a rep and a mentor, I put a lot of work into organising events to try and reinvigorate the sense of community in the School of Psychology. So I've organised essay writing workshops, statistic workshops, Q&As, and study lounges, stuff like that, to bring students together again and get that connection flowing. So there is the flow of experiences, knowledge, and information passing on between year groups. And I think that's something that's been hugely impactful in the School of Psychology, and all of the students that come to these events say that they are really pleased to have this. And I think it makes a huge impact on students because otherwise I think university can be a really challenging time. You kind of get here, you don't really know where you're going, what you're doing. You're faced with a whole new set of challenges, such as new assignments and coping with all that. So yeah, I think bringing students together and connecting them is the main thing. Yeah.
Great. Ayo, if you want to go next.
For me, mine would be the deadline pressures and just the organisation of modules, seminars and lectures. Speaking to a bunch of different people about how courses are organised, we've realised that when it comes to seminars and lecturers need to realise that there are more than one different module and lectures that students are taking, and it's not just there. So when they have the seminar prep for us to prepare for, we have those plus 2 or 3 more to also prepare for at the same time. not only that, when we've got your assignments to do and your seminar that is needed for those assignments are literally a week before it's due, that kind of like jam packs it and makes it more stressful for us to actually get it done in a required time. I also feel like lecturers also need to kind of like come together and organise when they're going to set due dates for assignments, because there's been instances in the past, like me personally, I think in my second year of uni, I had 3 assignments all due on the same day and the same time, each like at least 2,000 words, which was quite difficult. That is quite hard for you to manage. And then they've also got to remember, many students have part-time jobs, extracurricular activities. Some students have 2 jobs as well, just to make ends meet, so their time is jam-packed. That can really be detrimental to their mental health and their lives. They don't have time for themselves. They've got one assignment due one week, seminar prep, the next week it's just on repeat. I know friends personally who I haven't seen since the beginning of the year, because every week they've got a new lecture, seminar prep, a new assignment, and they're not free to do anything they want, and it's really struggling. And then they don't have time to also work as well, but they also need to work to be able to fund their life here at uni, which I think is really important as well.
I agree. Kritika?
So my focus is on 3 key areas. I really want to foster a culture of balance. The first thing I want to focus on, probably most importantly, is bringing more conversations, more workshops, more talks given to you by academics, which deconstructs our undergraduate criteria. It's extremely vague and frankly very intimidating. I can say this from my first year experience, as well as talking to so many people. So basically, I want you going into assignments knowing exactly what's expected of you, as opposed to learning through your assignments or just individual feedback what is expected of you. I want you to feel empowered in that way. And the reason I make this suggestion is because there was a successful 4-week workshop delivered by one of the academics within law. Her name is Emek. The workshop was quite literally called How to Get a First. It broke down exactly what is expected of students. This is not only empowering, but also gives you the clarity moving forward. I want to bring this up at a managerial level because there just isn't enough funding in this area, and so academics aren't able to deliver this to you at a wider scale. Secondly, I want to make some changes to the student rep system. I want to move the narrative from, okay, it's academics versus students. That's simply not the case. A lot of the problems we face are because of a system of governance and the funding problems this university is facing, as well as the mounting debt. You know, problems like strikes, and we have overpacked seminars, and we have late marking, and academics don't have time for us. Things like this are not their fault. And it's important to recognize that a joint effort and us understanding each other is so much more fruitful and productive for us moving forward. And lastly, and probably most importantly, I think there needs to be bigger open forum discussions about failures, setbacks, rejections we all face. We need to normalize this. It's inherent to our academic careers to fail, to be rejected, and there needs to be bigger discussions about this. We need to destigmatize this, and yes, yeah.
Sounds great. Great. All right, so moving on to our next question. What do you believe is the single most important issue students face in their studies, and what do you plan to do about it? Io, if you'd like to take this one.
I feel like it's the funding issue for like each school in particular. It's like some schools are underfunded. They don't have the necessary tools or funding to help their students. I know like some architecture students, they have a software called SketchUp that they use for their designs. They can only use it when they're on campus, because when they go home, they have to pay like a lot of money, and their school doesn't fund it. So they have to keep creating like emails every 2 weeks just to be able to use like the free software. I think if we come together, have a sit down and find out if there's a way to find out what each department in the uni needs funding for, and how we can use it to help benefit students, to help make their life a bit more easier, because they've come here to study. They weren't really told the softwares that were going to be used at university. They were just told what type of modules, classes. They weren't really privy to that information, and then they come here and then they're told, oh yeah, you need this, this, this and this, but some don't have the necessary funds to fund all of that. Us as universities should come up with a way to kind of help alleviate that pressure off them, and help find a way to make it so we can fund that for them. They don't have to worry about that, and all they have to worry about is doing their work and getting their assignments done on time and making the most of their university life.
Great. Nicolette, if you'd like to go next.
Showing a bit of coffee. So kind of leading on from my first point, I think it's not having the right resources, tools and connections, i.e. just kind of being alone in that university experience. I think, you know, we're all going through university, and often I think there is a missed opportunity for students to come together and really share that experience, like especially since COVID again, a lot of academic communities have shut down, like Psychology Society, Pol IR Society, other societies that are like on the brink of shutting down as well. And I think this really impacts students. It has a knock-on effect on well-being as well, because I think, I mean, we all exist as part of a community, and I think, you know, through these communities, students gain a sense of who they are. I mean, I know from psychology that being a part of community literally is probably one of the most important things that you have as a human. And I think through this, you know, you gain a sense of what's out there, you know, what can you get out of your network, where are you going in life, stuff like that. And yeah, this is why I've done all of the work that I have done so far as a student rep. And yeah, I think we need to kind of reinvigorate that sense of community. Yeah, and I think a big way to do that is through the student rep system. This is a model like integrating that kind of cross-stage community, and organising those kinds of events is something that I think really needs to be a bigger part of the student rep system. I think there needs to be proper training to do that as well. I think that could be worked on and improved a lot, so that's definitely something that I would do if I was elected, and I think that would really help students a lot thrive in their academic experience.
Great. Kirtika.
So, I thought about this a lot, but I really don't think there is a single issue that I could focus on and say this is the main struggle. I think we all go through many silent struggles, and these silent struggles inevitably impact the way we approach our academics, the way we perform, the way we are able to engage with academics in the first place. So, you know, struggles like loneliness, struggles like money problems, like being away from your family, mental health problems, all these things, they contribute to our academics in some way. And I think, going back on what I said previously, that's why I'm pushing for such a strong culture of balance. And I understand this is ambitious. I'm a law student myself and a student rep. I understand completely, but it's so important to put our well-being at the center of who we are in order to and then be able to go out and conquer the things we want to. We need to take care of ourselves to God in the first place. So what I'm trying to do here is first give you alleviate your stress by empowering you when you approach your assessments with the undergraduate criteria. And then secondly, I want to foster more solidarity between us and the academics. And so when we go to them, we're heard at a more personal level because we understand them and they understand us. And lastly, conversations about failures. We cannot be scared of them. We can't run away from them. They're going to be there at every step of the journey. And I'm such a strong believer that every single failure, every single challenge is only a step closer to where you want to be. And yeah, that's... Thanks.
Great. All right. So our third and final question for you guys is, what would you like Kent Union to prioritize and focus on this year? So Kirtika, if you could start with that one.
So this is perfect because I'm coming back to that culture of balance. I think Kent Union has so many support systems, so many support networks, but I think the one thing it lacks is, what is the narrative behind all of this? Why all of these things? And I strongly believe what that should be is, hey, you as a human being, you are worth so much. You are worth more than your grades and more than what you perform and more than the expectations you put on yourself, you are worth how you treat yourself. You need to put well-being at the center of who you are, and that's what I think Kent Union needs to do.
For me, it would be more transparency on the 2030, Kent 2030, and also how...
Can you push down the top of the microphone? Yes. Okay.
For me, it would be Kent 2030 and how Kent recently just removed majority of the arts and humanity modules. They weren't very clear on why they got rid of modules. Like my module was one of the ones that they removed, and with the whole 2030 and the new system they're trying to implement, not all one size fits all. It can't work for all the subjects. If you kind of get what I mean, with the whole way it does with what's left. Some students have coursework based completely. My course is completely coursework based, so to have 3 terms in a year, it doesn't really make sense, and to have less modules to take is also going to be quite difficult. Because for me, the reason why I chose Kent was we had the option to choose multiple modules, and I could see which area I wanted to specialize in when I hit third or fourth year. With the whole subjects as well, most of the subjects that they got rid of was arts and humanities. I don't quite see why, because I feel even though the intake isn't high, they should also realise that they're very important subjects. They teach us about critical thinking, cultural heritage in the past. It can help us in the future as well. They're very valued, graded subjects that are really important, and it's not fair just to keep the core subjects. No offense to law, business. I know you did philosophy as well. Yeah, you did philosophy, so philosophy is a good thing to study. I studied ancient philosophy myself. Yeah. Plato. Well, it was really good to understand how they used to think about back in the day, and how you can implement those in everyday lives and so on.
Great.
Thank you. Sorry.
Student engagement. I think the union is the voice for students, but first it needs to listen to them. I think a lot of students feel like they don't. It's almost like students feel there's the students and then there's the uni and the union. And I think the union needs to be there actively engaging with students a lot more, so that the union and the students are one, supporting each other. And I think being an officer really is about going out there and being a part of that, constantly asking students, so what do you want to see? What can we do for you? What can we change for you? And I think, as you were mentioning, Kent 2030 it's going ahead. This is the realistic 5-year plan that we are facing. And I think a lot of students feel quite lost about that. Some of them don't even know what it is. Some of them, and I think everyone doesn't really know what it means for people quite yet. And I think we need to have those conversations. I think students really need to feel like they are being listened to. They need to know that the officers are people that are here for them, they know them, and they're people that they can trust to listen to their feedback and to act on it. Because, at the end of the day, the union is nothing without the students. So I think that connection and communication between students and the union is what we really need.
Great, fantastic. It was great to hear from all of you. If we could just go through 3 of you again, and you can give some closing remarks before we end.
So just to reiterate, my 3 priorities are academic empowerment, providing students with the tools and connections they need to thrive in academia and personally as well, fighting for the student voice, as I was just mentioning, making sure that the student voice really is heard loud and clear and taken to university decision makers to ensure that they are a part of the process, and thirdly, mental health and well-being, because it really is equally as important as academia. There's so many challenges that you face as a student and in life in general, and the two go hand in hand. And I think this really, the union are already great at doing stuff like this, but there is so much more that needs to be done to raise awareness and to make sure that support is there for students. So yeah, that's what I'd like to focus on. Thank you.
Great.
For me, mine would be, of course, the deadlines, the deadline pressures, the subjects, the evaluation of subjects, and the access and tools necessary needed to study. I hope, like, by working on these, I can help students like yourselves have a better time here at university, understand what is needed of you, make your time easier with assessments, deadlines, so you don't have to struggle. Also find out why some subjects are being cut and see what we can do to like help fix those.
Great.
So where I started off, this need for balance. The reason I want to do this is so you can use this period of time that we're very lucky to have to create habits that will benefit your success for years to come. I will provide that by making it easier for you to understand what you're doing in the first place, have a better relationship with your academics, and have bigger and more empowering conversations about the struggles we all have, but we somehow hide and compete with against each other. And yeah, it's just so important that you guys vote today. I hope you've realized through listening to all of us that these are very important topics and they affect all of us, and we would love you to vote. Please vote. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for joining us tonight for our first debate. We will be back shortly for the next debate, which is for the Vice President of Student Engagement. Thank you.
You can try, but I won't stop, won't stop. Won't stop. Won't stop. Won't stop. You can try, but I won't stop, won't stop. I can't stop. I can't stop. You can try, but I won't stop, won't stop.
Hello, my name is Henry. I'll be moderating this session today. The candidates here are for the Vice President for Student Engagement. And now we'll have everyone's opening statements. So just introduce your name and a brief introduction of what you're here to do.
Okay, I'm Vanya Akre. I'm running for obviously the Vice President of Student Engagement. I am a second-year law student, and I'm hoping that with this role, I would be able to improve diversity with student engagement, as well as branching into niche groups, such as accessibility and more minority races with this role. So yeah, I'm excited.
Thank you. Hi, well, I'm Tony. I'm the current Vice President of Student Engagement. There's a lot I want to do with this role because student engagement is really broad, but I think my main focus is celebrating student successes. I think students do so much day to day and they deserve to be recognised and rewarded, but also celebrating culture and cultural diversity is a big part of why I'm rerunning.
Hello, I'm Kari Damani, and with this position I'm hoping to establish a clear way of people being able to communicate with the different societies and unions so they can really put in their input and clearly show it through data and all kinds of other things.
Okay, well, thank you for your introduction. So the first question goes as, how would you address the needs and concerns of students who may feel excluded or marginalized from campus activities and events? So how about just in order, like Vanya, how about you start?
Okay, so as you said, for students who feel excluded, yes, so obviously I feel personally in this uni there isn't a lot of highlights on the niche and minority groups. Yes, we do focus on diversity, we talk about diversity a lot, but when it comes to also highlighting within those diversity groups under other niche groups like people who are disabled, people who are struggling from different backgrounds. With my role in student engagement, I want to bring more exposure and empowerment to those people who have, who serve as less advantage in those certain areas because they don't have the opportunity to be able to. They don't have the opportunity to be able to speak. So I want to be able to give them a platform to be able to show themselves more within those minority groups as well.
Would you be able to repeat that?
Yes. How would you address the needs and concerns of students who may feel excluded or marginalized from campus activities and events?
I think the first point is, what are the needs of students? Well, you can only work that out by talking to students. So the first thing I would do would be to talk to students, understand their needs. But also, that's not just a one quick fix. You kind of have to look at it through a multifaceted approach and for an EDI lens, so equality, diversity and inclusion. I think one of the first things that I do is to, create a welcoming environment for students. This comes under creating a safe space for students, particularly the women and non-binary hours that we have at the gym currently. I think that safe space allows students to be themselves unapologetically and to be around people like themselves. And I think that really breaks down some of the barriers and addresses their needs. Another thing I do would be to close the feedback loop. I think the students often have, I think closing the feedback loop, students often will tell us their needs and we'd hear it and then they wouldn't hear anything else. So I think being able to go back to students and tell them what we've done and how we've benefited their experience and how we've broken those barriers and how we've addressed their needs, that is a way to address their needs and for students to get the reassurance that they need. And I think definitely closing the feedback loop is something that students don't often get. They don't often get the opportunity to hear what we've done to benefit them, and the work shouldn't be silent that we've done. The students should know what we've done, and they should be able to engage with that work, and they should be able to reap the benefits of that work, because at the end of the day we do it for them.
I think the first thing I would do was establish a connection with the students, and then find out what kind of events and societies they feel excluded from or don't feel comfortable going to. Then I'd speak to the societies on their behalf, so I'll be able to deliver the message they want to societies to make them feel more comfortable in that area. If they want to also come in and speak for themselves, that'll be really good. And then also after that, making sure they get the feedback that Tony was talking about, making sure they get the information they want, or get the rulings or changes they want, to make sure they can go into that space freely.
Okay, thank you for your answers. The second question is, what do you think is one thing you can do to enhance student engagement for Kent students through your role as VP for student engagement? So maybe, Tony, you start this time.
One thing that I think would, sorry, one more time.
Okay, I'll talk a bit slowly. What do you think is one thing you can do to enhance student engagement for Kent students through your role as VP for student engagement?
I think there's several things that we can do, first of all, but I'll stick to one. I think, again, like I said, talking to students is key to understanding what they actually need, and then focusing that into the student experience. Sorry.
Yeah, essentially, like, how would you enhance student engagement?
Okay, so I think student engagement works really well when it's led by students. For instance, in October was Black History Month, and we worked really closely with the president of Cheer to host a Black History Month brunch, and it went down really well because it was a student-led event. I think that's one particular thing, having students on side and creating their own events, and just sitting at the back and just providing them with the resources that they need to make their own experience. I think that's what really benefits students, because at the end of the day we could put on 50 million events and no student turn up because either they didn't know about it, so they didn't have the connections to know that we're having this event, or it's not the event for them, because I have my own experience, I've had my own experience, but my experience is nothing like any other student. In order to have a great experience, you need to create your own experience, and all I want to do is provide you with the resources to have your experience and make it a great one.
So maybe to the right. Yeah.
Well, could you repeat the question?
Yeah. So basically, like what's one thing you would do to enhance student engagement for Kent students with your role?
Okay. With my role, I would say, like I mentioned earlier, we need to focus more on minority groups, because they don't have as much exposure, especially when it comes to media. The media that's being put out is majorly put out for majority groups as well. And also within those majority groups, obviously there's subdivisions of minority groups. And I want to be able to increase student engagement by tapping in specifically into them. We need to find out their niches. Obviously, from the first event, our first meeting point that we were to meet them, we find out what they need from us, and then we communicate and we find out how to make more events that, would I say, encourage that niche or that minority group to be able to do better. Secondly, I noticed there are a lot of student-owned businesses on this campus, and there are not enough, there are not enough outlets for them to be able to promote that, especially in this big student environment here. So I want to be able to increase the student engagement, as well as bring forth those students in this community that have those that have different roles, and be able to promote them with that. Yeah, make events that enable them to promote their businesses and whatnot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I just add a little something?
That's not
I
really.
agree with
Yeah.
just something that I think students deserve to know.
That's not really I'm really sorry that's not the format we're going for, but you might be able to add something in a closing statement.
I think innovating the way campaigns are done for events and way they're presented to students, I think we need to innovate that and change it so it's easier to get out to students, so it's a lot better the way it's presented, so more of them are able to see it and also feel like they should be able to come. Because generally when I hear about events and talk about them, generally students don't really know they're going on. They don't even know about certain societies that are going on. And I feel like we just need to make sure there are strategies in place to make sure they know about everything that's going on in the uni.
Okay, well, the third question and final question is, what would you like Kent Union to prioritize and focus on? So perhaps we can start at the end this time.
I think with the Kent Union, I think the main focus should be establishing clear communication with the students so they have a place where they feel they can express themselves and express their opinions on the Kent Union and Kent Union events. I think that's the key way the Kent Union should go forward, because I feel like students should have a strong input into the Kent Union and that should be able to be seen by everyone.
Should we just move to the left?
Me?
Yeah.
With that being said, I think to go back to my last point as well, what you were saying, I completely agree. Students have so many businesses and they are so talented and their talent isn't shown enough. In October, for the Black History Month, I threw a Black History Month student market, and this was one of the best events that black students had for, I guess, for a long time. So that's why I agree when I say that students have businesses and they deserve a platform to showcase it. So something that we're doing currently, for full transparency as well, is we want to put students' businesses on our website, and we want students to be able to access and see what they're looking for and find it on our website. But also we are throwing another, because it's Women's History Month, happy Women's History Month everybody, we're throwing a Women's History Month student market as well. That's why I'm saying I agree with your point, because they deserve a platform to showcase the talent that they have, not only their businesses that they have, but the talents that they have as well. But in terms of your question, one thing that students deserve, I guess one thing that Kent Union should do better is advocating for our students and being fully transparent with it as well. So I'm going to be fully transparent, and I'm going to talk about Medway. The Medway experience is not okay, and that's something that we should apply the pressure to the university. Currently, the Medway students are about to have one building. That is not a student experience at all. And we need to lobby the university 10 times harder than what we're doing to make sure that they have a student experience that they paid for. They pay exactly the same that Canterbury students pay. So why should Medway students get one building when we have all of this? And I'm not saying all of this is the best, but compared to Medway, we deserve to advocate for them, and we deserve to be fully transparent and tell them what we're doing on their behalf.
Okay, could you...
Yeah, so what would you like Kent Union to prioritize and focus on?
Okay, I think Kent Union should mostly prioritize on, I would say, exposure for group events. Our societies, we have so many societies, and like my contendant said, like there's so many societies that people don't know about. And there's stuff like Freshers Fair, their food fair, their cultural fairs, but these don't happen as frequently as they should to bring the exposure that we need for the union. Like, and I feel Kent Union should be able to make more programs available for those groups, those minority societies and groups, to be able to show themselves and make themselves more visible to all students of the university. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. So now, since we've all answered the questions, we're going to move on to closing statements. So perhaps we just go back in the order. Oh. Okay, well, unexpectedly, we've got an extra question. How will you support small societies that rely on transport like minibuses to make sure they're successful? So I guess we might as well just go back in the order. Yeah.
Okay. For small societies that rely on things like minibus, I have seen not only small societies have that problem, but also big societies still with finding transportation and trying to, find spaces for their events and their campaigns. But along with that, I say the Kent Union and me, obviously being a contestant, I would want to make it more available funding easier for these societies to implement their funds, because I feel like the whole funding system for most of the societies, yes, it is there, but they also need the guidance of the Kent Union. With me being there, I'll be able to guide the society to be able to input their funding into places that I feel like is essential for their society and essential to raise the general exposure of those niche societies as well.
Do you repeat the question?
Yeah. How will you support small societies that rely on transport like minibuses to make sure they're successful?
So one society comes to mind for me, and that's the Spoken Word Society. Shout out to you, because they're a society who have started really small and now they're building themselves. So one thing that we did, particularly for the cultural celebration week, we threw a cultural showcase and we allowed them to perform, and they won £200 for their society. I think having events like that could be way more beneficial for the societies. One, to showcase their talent, but two, to win themselves money to pay for things like transport and other things like that. On top of that, we have a development fund and an access to activities fund. All you need to do is be a student and in need of money. And in a cost of living crisis, that's not hard. So I think that's definitely something that I do. I guess enhance the ones that we already have, so the development fund and the access to activities fund, showcase them more, because again, a lot of students don't know about them, and then also provide them with opportunities to showcase their talent or put on their own events and get money back from that.
I think the way of dealing with that is trying to get them dedicated transport, maybe their own minibus or some way where they can meet at locations that are closer to each other. Because generally with smaller societies that I've found, they generally have quite like they're close knit together in terms of location wise. And there's also doing remote meetings where they can plan out events, and we can also show them more at because Tony was talking about we could do more fairs. I think they would really benefit from that, and possibly if it's able, giving them slightly more funding, because I feel like small societies really need that to get off their feet.
If there are no more emergency questions, I guess we can move on to closing statements. So basically sort of, make a final statement on what you plan on doing, who you are. How about we go in reverse order this time? So.
Okay, thank you everyone for listening. I really plan to do a lot of work to help all the students and societies and really get that work done efficiently and make sure we're all heard. The present is mine and the future is yours, meaning that I'm going to do the work now so you can enjoy a better future.
Thank you for listening. There are 2 more days left to vote, so please use your vote, please use your voice. My key priorities are EDI, so championing, celebrating different cultures and everybody's needs essentially. I feel like EDI is everybody's concern, and everybody needs to tap in and look through an EDI lens to be able to benefit all students no matter who they are. Another thing is cost of living. I think students are currently apathetic towards cost of living, and I feel like you're just going through the motions, and I completely agree and I completely hear that. And I think cost of living is definitely something that I would focus on more, providing students with more opportunities to win money for themselves or to just get involved and end up with money, or other ways to feed themselves and to engage in the student body in any other form. Another one of my focuses are reward and recognition. I think students deserve to be rewarded for things that they're already doing, like being part of a society or being on a committee. Those are things that students should be rewarded for, because they are already doing it and there is some way that you can benefit from that. But also, I guess all I'd want to say is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm already trying to do my job to the best I can, and I hope that I have the student body behind me, because I really care and I am really passionate, and I want to be able to show you all in the best light I can and showcase your talent.
Yeah. Okay. With all being said, I'm very excited to be running, and thank you all for listening to what I have to say. But my two major priorities will be improving student engagement, not specifically online, but on campus as well. That way we can get more of the students who are unaware and who are not informed enough about the engagement and the society and the things that are going on. Just majorly to boost engagement with you guys, but in a more physical sense. And my second priority will also be to boost like the niche groups and the smaller minority groups and give them the things that they need to be able to promote and enjoy the university living like every one of us are already. So with that being said, thank you.
Thank you for watching, and thank you for coming and talking.
Yeah, that should work. That should work fine.
You can try, but I won't stop, won't stop. Won't stop. Won't stop. Won't stop. You can try, but I won't stop, won't stop. I can't stop. I can't stop. You can try, but I won't stop, won't stop.
Hello everyone, I'm Rashida Hassan, Editor-in-Chief of Inquire Media, the University of Kent's official student newspaper, and welcome to Lead Kent Debate Night. Today we'll be hearing from several candidates that are running for postgraduate and international experience, so I'm going to hand over to those candidates right now for them to introduce themselves and give you some opening statements.
Hello, my name's Carol Ann. Believe it or not, I'm 61 years old. And it was a huge struggle for me to get into a university. So what I'm hoping to do with all the challenges that I've had to deal with, and despite many daunting obstacles that I've had in my life, and especially over the past couple of years, I'm really hoping that I can share that my fellow character strengths, my empathy and my determination with all my fellow students, and I find that these are essential traits to succeed regardless of any obstacle that's in your life.
Hello everyone. My name is Ananya Datta. I'm here as a postgraduate student for my master's in creative writing. And I'm here standing up for the position of postgraduate and international experience. I'll open up the debate with my statement being over the transparency that I really want to see being supported for international students and the better clarity for them with all their graduate courses and other activities as well. And regarding myself, I come from a particular domain often known as the northeastern part of my home country, India, and I'm sending out love to everyone, wishing everyone best of luck. Here I hand over.
Thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Arminta. I'm studying marketing and I'm from Bangladesh. Coming to university as an international student has always been such a challenge as it is. We leave behind people at home, we leave our friends, everything we're comfortable with. So I have lots of dreams and I hope to help everyone else achieve their dreams, whether you're postgrad, whether you're international, or whether you're just here for the ride. I hope to be a friend to everyone and anyone I can be a friend to. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Vansha Kanakul and I'm standing for the position of Vice President, Postgrad and International Experience. As myself, an international student from India, I had a lot of dreams and aspirations, and I think everybody as international and postgrad student would have same. So I have huge respect for that and a commitment towards that as well. And I think as myself and postgraduate international student, I understand the challenges, priorities, needs, and all the aspirations we have. And I'm committed towards working towards those. I am very passionate towards working for the students in enhancement and improvement for their experiences. And like I've proved that because I already hold some positions in the university as well, but I've worked for them. And so that's it for me.
Hello, guys. Oh, is it okay? Yeah. My name is Claudia. I am a PhD student. I come from Portugal, the north of Portugal, and I've been here for a couple of years. My experience moving here was quite positive, but I know that that doesn't happen to everyone. And a lot of my colleagues and friends have always shared a lot of obstacles, and I am just quite a strong-minded person, and I fight for what I believe. So I am trying to help others and do that for those that don't have such a loud voice as me.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. We're going to go straight into the questions. So the first question would be, what do you see as the main challenge that postgraduate students face, and what will you do to address this? So we can start.
The first thing I found out is various finances. A lot of students are having difficulty paying loans back, so they're looking for other ways to get an income so that when they're prepared to leave university, they're not going to have this huge debt. Most people are now looking for budget plans, and they're actually trying now to plan before they leave an employment status so that they can work out a way on how to afford to pay back any student fees or student loans that they have before their course ends. The other thing that I've picked up on is people's general health. Everybody keeps going on about everybody's mental health, but mental health starts from the very beginning. Are you eating properly? Are you drinking plenty of juice and waters? Are you having enough time to shut down? Have you got that switch off switch? Are you getting enough sleep and enough rest? And how can we promote this? It's not just through little campaigns, it's maybe showing people how we can do this. The other thing that I've noticed is there's a lot of students that withdraw into themselves. They become isolated and they're not quite sure who to turn to, where to go and what to do. It's all very well suggesting you go for counselling, but a lot of students do not like discussing anything with strangers. So within the union, I think we've got to have people like myself, I class myself as a mother figure, somebody that they can actually go to and who's been through struggles and who actually understands how they're feeling and why they're feeling withdrawn. So I think we've got quite a lot to work on, but with all the help that we can give the mature students and people with hidden disabilities, I'm sure that with the backing of the union and the university, we will get there.
Okay, thank you.
Thanking my fellow candidate. The major problem that I've seen students internationally coming to England encounter is regarding their own lack of clarity, which also comes from my opening statement. Why exactly they preferred their way here when they might have been expecting a lot more. So I hold nothing culpable in this context, but what I want to say is the myth that's built around the countries that if you pursue your education internationally, it's going to be spectacular, but that need not be the case. Because of which my very particular observation will kind of extend from my fellow candidates. say that this happens because probably the students are not acquainted well enough with what their course is actually going to look like. So I suggest that there is more transparency, that students are made more sophisticated with what they should be expecting, the kind of structure with their seminars, their classes, and the kind of opportunities they'll get, so they know if endeavoring in this kind of expensive endeavor is actually going to be worthwhile. And secondly, I found that the financial aspect remains the concern for which the international students have been struggling. This varies in the context of food, in the context of shopping, and even coming down to the normal groceries as well, which is no shame in acceptance. I do believe that because of the variations and the differences in the currencies, I do believe that these variations are really likely to occur. So with these two problems, I'm more willing to look into these two contexts with more opportunities for international students on campus. And here I hand over the mic.
Thank you. So that's a great question. I think the most important problem for postgraduate students is the student body, the environment, because I feel like a lot of opportunities currently are more directed towards undergraduate students. So things like Wednesday or Summer Ball, these are all more geared towards a younger demographic, people who are 18, people who are 19, like people who are just starting out university. Those opportunities are they're present. But for postgraduate students, I think it would be more beneficial for them to have things like networking nights at like Woody's or Origins, where people can come with their spouses or just a partner and kind of talk about work, talk about life, talk about what they're expecting out of their degrees. It'll also be a great way to meet international students. It'll be a great way to just integrate with other cultures as well, because at the end of the day, university is a very global space, and we should be trying to push ourselves to our limits, you know. But yeah, I think more opportunities regarding like networking, specifically for postgraduate students. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I believe the main challenge for the postgrad mainly is to have a supportive and collaborative environment where they could have both academic and personal growth as well, while maintaining their work-life balance, because I think work-life balance is very important, because sometimes I work the whole day, I study the whole day, then even I feel 24 hours is really less for me, and still I have so much to do. So yes, work-life balance is really, really important. I personally think these can be resolved by having workshops, sessions, and trainings to work for the students, where it could be academic support and mentorship programs, to be honest, or mental health programs, because somewhere or other everybody's mental health gets affected when you have hectic schedules, assignments and stuff. So everybody faces that. We can have sessions on time management and prioritization of tasks, because I think that is really important for having a work-life balance in your life, and also with celebrating diversity and cultures of each other is very important. So yeah.
Okay, I think this role englobes a lot of different problems, because I don't think you can just state one problem to postgraduate, international, mature, caring, all of what this role encompasses. You can't say there's one problem to it. People have different problems. I think my colleagues have stated some of the main issues: financial issues, mental health issues, transparency or lack of transparency of what's happening. So I think those are quite important issues that the postgraduate and all of the other communities that this role encompasses need to have addressed by someone representing them. I would just probably add that financial lack of resources right now is probably one of the biggest that might be universal to all of these roles, and adds a lot of stress and anxiety to students' life. It is not just after you finish your studies, it's even during. I know that sometimes I've read around that if you don't have a scholarship or if you don't have a stable job, that it's kind of assumed that your parents are paying for it. That makes no sense. You can't assume that. People are self-funded and hard-working and things like that. So I believe that there's a lot of issues that this role will have to address, not just one, but probably financial will be at the center of a lot of them, because it will create a lot of problem for the majority of these students.
Thank you all so much for those answers. I would just like to remind everyone to keep the answers just a little bit more brief, just because we're conscious of time. The next question is, what will you do to ensure that international students are represented and have an equitable student experience at Kent? So we can start with Arminta and then we can move.
So as an international student myself, I think there's two issues that I've faced at university. One being with the visa team. I've had so many issues trying to get in contact with the visa team. I feel like there should be someone that you can go to and arrange a meeting with, because human emotion is so important. I can't always convey my problems through an email, and when I'm getting a response 3 to 5 business days later, it's quite how do I put it? It's quite disheartening. So I think someone needs to kind of take control of that, be the face of those issues. And secondly, I think another way that we can make sure that international students have an equitable university experience is by having cultural assimilation nights. So I think I was very lucky with my flatmates in my first year, and I was able to kind of understand British culture through them. I think a lot of the times we fall, it's harder to acclimatize yourself when you're an international student, and then you find comfort with more international students. A cultural assimilation night would kind of look like trying a Yorkshire pudding, for example, or having a roast dinner, just things like that are integral to British culture, that as an international student we'd be more comfortable kind of understanding. But I think those would be just two examples of changes that I'd like to implement. But yeah, thank you. Who do I?
Thank you. I think there are many ways where you can provide equitable student experience to international students, but I think I understand the needs and challenges of all the international students, and I can say that some of the ways can be having a international advisory council or committee which can help them in every issue they face, if it's visa or finance or anything like that. Because I agree with you, because sometimes when we were applying for the university, we had a lot of delays in the application and stuff like that with the university. So those can be resolved with a committee or a council on place. We can have training sessions and showcases with the students out there, where we can celebrate their cultures, traditions, everything together. That would be really great to have showcases, but with the global showcases and stuff like that. And I think we can also have guidance on the diversity and inclusion for the students, which is really important, because everybody needs to respect everybody's backgrounds and cultures. So yeah, I think this is very important.
Thank you. Yes, I believe that doing events at university that are multicultural is very important, but I do think there's other issues that international students face that are more particular. For example, the visa situations, which are very complicated, especially after Brexit. And I also believe that it's more than just you are just contacting people through email and you don't have a face. It's also the way they reach out to you. And I understand that these are governmental rules and the university doesn't have the power to change them. And the visa compliance team needs to be very strict, because the university can't lose their sponsorship authorization. But they can be a little bit more supportive and more kind when people need their help. And I was very lucky in my postgraduate experience, but in my international experience, I have felt that I didn't have the support at the university many times for many different situations. For example, I had to take an intermission, and international students can't take intermission along as home-based students, and this can affect financially, mental health, all of these issues. So I think it goes beyond just doing events of multiculturalism, which is really important, but they are out there and they can be improved, but they are out there. I think it's also raising these concerns which are a bit more legal, more bureaucratic, and trying to kind of get more support in that sense.
Thanking all of my fellow candidates again, and taking from all of them, they have raised certain important and very essential concerns, sensitive areas that people are not very comfortable speaking about, starting from visa, with which I personally had my own kind of epic struggle to speak of. And if I may extend the problem, the problem that I've found international students struggling with is certainly the financial part, for which I believe that everyone has their own kind of story to tell if you ask them how they're getting along with their university life. There's barely like a big bunch of people who will open up completely. So I believe if we can have certain criteria, a work particularly for international students. I've seen a lot of people, but it's like a minor percentage of international students and the different job opportunities across the campus. So I'll really like to work on that.
Well, I think everybody's said everything that I was going to say. But one thing I will mention is that all international students really do need to be felt as though this is their home. And how are we going to make this their home? Maybe your cultural nights, going round to your neighbours and say, hey, let's all cook a meal together. Because you're socialising, you can de-stress, you can make a list of issues which is having a big impact on your fellow friends and colleagues, and especially your fellow students, like with the visas. And I do agree with all of you with there has to be a specific area that deals with one of those most important things is your visas and your finances. Today I was talking to somebody who is self-funded, and she is now in a situation where she has nowhere to go and no help. So I think what you've all said is brilliant, and if everybody can work together, I think we'll find some solutions to all these problems that all the international students have in making the University of Kent their home and made to feel like it is a home for them.
Can I add something? I know we are running out of time, but perhaps that should start by the university not treating international students like piggy banks, like has been said in certain meetings, where they are as valuable as 2 or 3 home-based students. We are not just money, we are here to study, and we need to be treated respectfully. So if you want our money, you should also respect us, help us with our visa, support us in our journey and all of that.
Thank you all so much. And as an international student myself, I very much resonate with everything you said. And I'm very glad that you all have addressed the issues that are really important to other international students. So, last question. What would you like Kent Union to prioritize and focus on? I can start with you.
I think no matter what age you are, what ability you are, what disabilities you have, that the union is there to help, support and guide you and even signpost you to the right areas. Everybody, as you said, should be treated fairly and with respect. And I think the union does respect a lot of people's issues, but then I also think that there is a lot more that the union can do towards networking and also to helping out the international students with all of their issues and problems. One little suggestion might be is, have we got a suggestion box that all the international students can just pop an idea into and it be addressed once a week? But I think at the moment the union is doing a good job, and it does need international people on their board to deal with all their issues.
Thank you again. I'll take up from my opening statement again regarding the transparency, because this is something that that I really wanted more of when it was my own time prior to September 2023. I am personally really glad with the course I'm pursuing, but I've come across international students who are seeking to know if their own endeavor into this kind of course was actually worthwhile, because there is a lot of cultural shock, a lot of difference that they're facing here as an international student. So and when I was looking up for open days, we had virtual open days for some students, and majorly we had open days, live open days. So I wonder if we can arrange open days with their professors as well, who will better explain the kind of way that they're going to go about their courses and structures and everything that they should be expecting, so they know what they want to do. Besides that, I will really encourage more of the social engagement with people from different countries. This is something that I really want to press on. I've seen people from different countries staying in bunch, staying in groups, like Asian people staying with Asian people, Europeans staying with European. Why don't you open up and go and meet with other Asians, other Europeans? If you're here internationally, that's in a way the whole point from my side, to see the world with them. Thank you.
Thank you. I think one of the big issues at our university currently is our lack of student unity. We have so many student groups. We've got societies for every, like, kind of what you said. Like, we've got an Indian society, we've got a Nepali society. We could benefit from having events that we all look forward to as a university. I know it's hard to engage 17,000 students at one go, but things like summer ball and I feel like we need more of those big events that really get people excited, get people talking, like, hey, are you gonna go to this? Hey, I'm gonna go at this time. Who are you bringing? Conversation like that kind of bring a community into place, and I think that's really important as well, to elevate the international student experience. And another thing that I think the union should prioritize is jobs. I know that there's a cost of living crisis not only in England but across the world. I know I'm facing financial struggles as well because of like exchange rates and like flights back home. There's lots of money that goes into pursuing a dream. So I also think that something that the union could do is have on the careers web page, just have a little box that says for international students, and then when we're looking for jobs, we can find places that are willing to hire us, willing to work part-time, because oftentimes I've looked for jobs and they've all been like full-time, and even though the opportunities are there, they're not tailored to me, which I feel like just having that little box, just making it more accessible for everyone would benefit international students and postgrad. But thank you.
Thank you. Being very brief, I think several key areas would definitely be, firstly, it would be mental health and well-being of the students. Second, it will be international student support in case of all the issues, if it's visa, finance, everything. Thirdly, it would be student representation and engagement, which covers all the societies, committees and groups. We have the clubs, and we do have some networks which support us as well. Fourthly, it will be global collaboration and work opportunities for students, as she mentioned already. I think that is very important. And as we are from different backgrounds, we are here to explore and have the exposure, to be honest. So that's the only thing I think. And fourthly would be the EDI, which is the equality, diversity and inclusion for all the students. So yeah, thank you.
I think the union does a lot of good work in terms of inclusivity, providing students with different opportunities, events, societies. I think that's quite well achieved. I think we need to engage more in this part of getting people more involved in the almost like political part of the university, fighting for better policies and engaging more in that part of what it's like to be a student, because they don't have to subject themselves to everything that happens. So I think it would be a positive thing if the union could try and bring people more into this, maybe kind of be more transparent or say more about what they are doing, how people can interact, how are we kind of debating with university and bringing the changes that the students need. I think that's probably what I would try to improve.
Thank you all so much for your answers. So since we have no submitted questions in the comment section, we're going to go into closing statements. So yeah.
I'm going to keep mine very short and sweet. Although many people love supporting colleagues, they aren't always around. But I will be around via calls, texts, emails, and personal chats. You can find me anywhere on campus because I always wear bright pink coats, as people have found out. And all I want to say is, so let's jump on the bus, pick up the educational needs and strive to become the student we want to be, with the backing of the union and of the University of Kent.
Thank you so much. I'd like to close with my statement being that I'm also open to accepting your responses, your queries. You're more likely to find me at the library D block, and I'm well, as I'm wearing pink indeed today, but it's because of the warmer coat. But you're more likely to find me in red, and yes, or at the sports center. I'm really fond of joining the sports club, and yeah, that's all for me. And I'll highly encourage all the people to use your vote, your right to vote, very carefully. I want to see more international engagement in between students. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to close off by saying that I will, if I'm elected, I will work to my best potential to ensure that your voice is heard. I would also like to work on issues such as visa, job opportunities, and just making sure that international students feel comfortable living away from home. And yeah, you can always, my DMs are always open. Yeah, you can find me around the library, around campus. Just approach me for a chat. I am very enthusiastic about making new friends. So yeah.
Okay, I'll be closing by saying that I'm very accessible, so you'll find me here and there, always on campus. I'm very proactive, so I'll be here and there in some committee or doing something always. So you can find me anywhere if I'm elected. Of course, the one thing, if I'm elected, I'll be focusing on international postgrad students, and whatever I've promised to do, I will. And of course, I'll be working for the priorities and needs and concerns of the students, both international and postgrad. So yeah, I totally assure about that.
I don't wear much pink or red. I usually dress in black all the time. People are a bit scared of me sometimes, but I promise I'm very approachable. So people can find me in German, School of Arts, anytime. I'll be in the postgraduate hub. And I am quite feisty, if you haven't noticed. And I will fight for you if I believe something is unfair or unjust. I always try to fix it, and I know some people are very shy, can't speak for themselves, and I'm happy to do so. So if people need something, I'm there to fix. That's kind of my thing, and hopefully I will be able to do so. But vote, no matter what. Just vote. Use your democratic vote.
Thank you all so much for tuning in to Lead Kent Debate Night. So we'll move on shortly to the next debate, which would be Vice President of Welfare and Community. Thank you so much, candidates. You've done a great job. And yeah, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you in a couple minutes.
You can try, but I won't stop, won't stop. Won't stop. Won't stop. Won't stop. You can try, but I won't stop, won't stop. I can't stop. I can't stop. You can try, but I won't stop, won't stop.
Hi everyone, my name is Rashida Hassan. I'm the editor-in-chief of Inquire, which is the University of Kent's official student newspaper, and I would like to welcome you all to Lead Kent Debate Night. Tonight we're going to be hearing from candidates that are running for Vice President of Welfare and Community. So I'll pass it on to the candidates for them to introduce themselves and give you any opening statements.
Hi, my name is Taslima. I'm a master's student for law at University of Kent, and I'm also a student trustee at Kent Union. To kind of bring into perspective, the reason why I'm going for this role is, as someone who has experienced the educational system in different countries and different levels, I do really understand the essence of student support and, you know, wanting to be there for students, not just only academic wise. So I'm here to kind of be that actual go-getter and be that actual new perspective and passionate individual to kind of, we have this term in Nigeria called soft life. So I'm kind of here to actually give you like the best possible experience with school, the best ease that can be given to students to help them have a better experience at their university life. So I hope I'll be able to portray that with the debate today. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Medina and I'm Muqaddam. I am running for Vice President, Welfare and Community, as Rashida has just said. I'm a second-year student of Cultural Studies, Media and Journalism. And the reason that I'm running for this role is because being an international student in the UK who had absolutely nobody here, I found it extremely difficult to foster a community for myself. But eventually I figured it out, and I would like to do the exact same for everyone else here. And I feel like I can't do that on my own, and I need a lot of input from the students to see what they want. And that's why I'm running for this role, because I think I could be a great liaison between you guys, the university, and Kent Union, everyone together, because I obviously cannot do this on my own, and I do need you, which is why my tagline is, I'm in it for welfare, I'm in it for you. So if you vote for me, I would absolutely love to do what you want me to do. And of course, there are things that I want to do myself as well, but mainly and mostly, I'd like to focus on what you guys want to see, because this is a university of almost 20,000 students, 17,000 of which are part of Kent Union, and one person's opinion is not enough. So thank you, and I hope that you elect me.
Hello, I'm Lewis. I'm a fourth year computer science student, and I'm running for Vice President of Welfare and Community. And the main reason for me standing is I want to build a kinder university, and I want to represent students for what they need most.
Hiya, my name is Julia, and I'm a third year psychology student. And the reason why I'm campaigning for this, and the reason why I've decided to be part of this lead campaign team and to apply for the Vice President position of Welfare and Community, is first of all my passion for well-being, but ultimately it's just my understanding on how hard university life can be for everyone, and how so many of us are silently struggling, and so many of us don't know how to access the appropriate ways out there, really, in order to make our university life better, and to make some systematic barriers, and to overcome homesickness, to start to get out there and speak to people, to make it easier, really. Because I think that when everything changes and once of a sudden you are this person that's a kid, really, that is becoming an adult, and you need to be responsible for your financial status, you need to start being blunt, you need to start having confidence, you need to live on your own, you need somebody to support you. And I consider that with my experience, I could be that someone for you, and I could guide you into making this transition to university life and to your adulthood life easier.
Thank you all so much for those brilliant opening statements. So we're going to go straight into the questions. The first question is, what considerations will be made to ensure students with disabilities feel safe within the university? We can start with you.
Okay, so in terms of making students with disabilities feel safe on campus, I think the first thing we should look at is assessing what the issues are, because I do know that at Kent University there are things in place for students with disabilities, but they also can't cover everything, so there definitely are issues. And looking into where are we, where are weakness, where our strength, where are we doing well, and where are we not, where are we lacking that students are seeing issues with. I think that's the first step we look into. And then I think going into things sort of like regular awareness and training, and regular awareness events that can help to kind of educate ourselves to kind of make Kent University a more inclusive and understanding environment for students with disabilities, and kind of reduce that stigma of like not necessarily understanding how to be around there, and then making them feel safe and supported in our community. And then I think also mental health awareness in terms of providing particularly tailored sense of mental health awareness for them, because at the end of the day, the way they are viewing life and their experiences might be it would be kind of different and intricate to what we see on a normal daily basis. So having that mental health awareness, particularly to be able to take on their issues, would be also essential for them to make them feel safe. And I think peer support is very important, making them feel like they have a community, they have a strong grounding where they feel heard, where they feel safe, where they feel they have other peers among them to feel relatable with, to share their experiences. And I think the most important point in this area is feedback. Feedback, I think, is the most important aspect of this role, because that's why we're here. We're the bridge builders to kind of be that person in between with the school and the students. So hearing what their issues are every day, we can then build to make more better decisions, more better policies, and more better actions to make University of Kent a better place for all students with disabilities. And I want to emphasize that not just only for the Canterbury campus, but to focus on these areas for Medway campus as well. So yeah.
Thank you. I just want to say that as someone who themselves is disabled, one thing that I notice quite a bit when we have conversations in terms of disabilities and in terms of what people can do for us is the sense of otherization, as if, disabled people aren't just people. And I think what we really need to do and what we really need to realize at this point in time is that a student who's disabled is still a human being at the end of the day. They're not, their entire identity is not their disability. And especially when we talk about invisible disabilities, someone who looks at me probably wouldn't be able to tell that I have certain conditions that would, classify me as disabled. But if you look at someone who's in a wheelchair, then the stereotype would obviously always be, oh yeah, they're disabled. And there's this sense of otherization that I really think we need to overcome. It is high time for us to stop stigmatizing and kind of making them feel like we're doing something for them rather than something for all of us. Because at the end of the day, when we make decisions that are accessible, it's not just helping people that are disabled. Accessible decisions help all of us. So if there's more ramps around the university, it's not just going to help people that have, that have wheelchairs. It's also going to help students that commute, students that have suitcases, students that, literally every single person. Step-free access throughout the university is really, really essential and crucial, not just for people that use wheelchairs, but almost everyone, especially in this day and age when everyone's walking with a phone in their hand. Like, come on, how many times have you stumbled over a step and you have your phone and just go, ooh? And it's just, we don't really think about these kind of things, but accessibility is something so normal, but we've like kind of turned it into this patronized thing that we're doing as sort of a, to make someone else feel better. But it's not like that. It's supposed to be for all of us. And speaking of which, I think the university, like you said, does quite a bit in terms of, physical disabilities. But when it comes to sensory disabilities, when it comes to things like feeling overwhelmed or things like just feeling a little bit triggered, there's not a lot of accessible places on campus that you can go to, because everywhere's so loud. Even the, private lounges or even the community spaces that we have on campus, obviously because they're open to everyone, they're not always very accessible, because you never know what place is going to be comforting. So I personally want to rally for some things that are accessible, especially to people that have sensory disabilities, something like a panic room or something that's just a little bit more comforting. Maybe there's not as many bright lights, maybe there's not always, such loud music going on, because it's not just about taking a breather, it's also sometimes about feeling so overwhelmed and so overstimulated that every single thing just feels like too much. And I think that's something that we really need to focus on as a university, on certain types of disabilities that you normally don't even notice. Even if you're in class and the professor plays a video and the volume is just so loud and you can't focus on anything else because your entire brain just feels like it's going to explode because of the volume. And the thing is, it's not just something that affects people that have diagnosed disabilities. Overstimulation is something that happens to almost everyone at some point in their life. And that brings me to the overarching argument of accessibility isn't just for people that are disabled. Accessibility is for every single person. And at some point in your life, it will help you. You will be using some measure put in place for someone who is disabled, but it would also help you. And so, as your VP, if you elect me, my point would be to make things not just for people that are disabled, but rather for everyone else. And just so we can make sure that people with disabilities don't feel like they're being otherized or tokenized, or rather used as, used as something to just rally for. They're also part of us. They're also part of the community. They are the community. So, hope that made sense.
So, it's a good question. So, it's about students with disabilities feeling safe in the university. Now, I think the first step towards understanding that is to go out to students, to the accessibility network, to people that experience the difficulties, and ask and say, what is it that we can do for you? What difficulties do you have? For example, I spoke to someone who uses a mobility scooter, and they said that the pavements around campus, you need to go into the road sometimes if you're going down to Parkwood, because there's no other way to do it, which isn't safe. So that's sort of more about physical safety, and there's also mental safety as well, which is feeling at home and feeling part of a community, which is something that's part of this role that I really care about, which is helping people feel together and reducing loneliness, which is something that's very close to me, a cause that's close to me. There's no point in me trying to explain difficulties that I haven't had. So I want to get out there and I want to understand what difficulties people are having, and that's what I love about this role, is that you can go out and you can speak to students, and it's so flexible in that you have that power to represent everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. So I believe that, first of all, in order to understand this question, we need to focus on what safe actually means. And besides going out there in the community and asking people, I believe that it is extremely important to always rely on feedback and to actually make the student feel like they are contributing to the change, and that whatever desires they have, they're actually being implemented. When talking about safety in general, first of all, I think that looking at physical safeness, we need to look at the accessibility within the university. And there are loads of things that have been implemented for the past few years, and there is wheelchair accessibility to lectures and stuff like this. However, I don't believe that there are many recreational facilities that favour an inclusive approach to disability. So I think that this is an incredible thing that needs to be done for students, because besides actually being engaged into lectures and seminars, they need to have the opportunity to take their mind off their studies and have the opportunity to actually relax and look after their own mental health and their own mental safety. So then they are in a safe mindset to actually get engaged with the studies. Besides that, I think that it's important to also focus on the introduction of Braille, so sign language, really, because that is not something that is implemented within the Kent University. And I think it is so important when speaking about universities, which are such a ground for ambition, to have opportunities for every single person out there, so nobody feels excluded. And I think also that there are not enough implementation when it comes to emergency services, and emergency services actually designed for disabled students, because I lived in the campus during my first year, and you have the fire alarm. But for example, if the fire alarm goes on and you are deaf, what are you going to do then? There is nothing. There is nothing for you. There is no push notification that you actually can have. Nothing to let you know that there is a danger out there and you need to keep yourself safe. So I think that besides having feedback from students and organizing maybe a society where all disabled students can get together, know each other, and we know very well that research indicates that the more you connect with people like you, the better you're going to do, because you're going to understand that so many people are going through the same thing. I think it's also important to actually make them feel like they belong somewhere, and they can feel at the university like they can feel at home, safe and at ease, and there is nothing that's keeping them back from actually just focusing on the best versions.
Thank you all so much. I just want to remind everyone to keep the answers a bit more brief and succinct, just because we might be running out of time. What things would you advocate for to improve student mental health across their learning experiences and social environment? So, Lewis, we can start with you, and then we can...
Very unexpected there. So one of the things that I want to advocate for is awareness of the many different forms of mental health and how that can affect anyone. And I think that one thing that's very important is for people to have a space to be able to talk about that. And a lot of people don't feel comfortable talking to professionals. And one of the things I want to advocate for is to have sort of time to talk zones where students can come together and just sort of have hearts to hearts with each other in a safe space. Also in regard to mental health, student loneliness, as I said before, is one of the things that I want to try and tackle. We've all been there, really. You're sat at home, you don't really have anything to do. You wanna go and do something, but you don't have anyone to do that with. And it's just really arranging events and just building a community that's aware that people do struggle, and a community that is accepting and where people are able to come together and share. One of the other things that I would campaign for to improve mental health is transparency within student wellbeing services. So the processes that you have to go through to get support in some cases can take months. It can take a year. It can take a very long time. And only certain routes of support are available to you if you have clinical diagnosis, for example. It's very difficult to get exam adjustments or any form of adjustment if you don't have a piece of paper that says you have something that you've had to wait 2+ years to get. It's an outdated system, and there's not much humanity to it, and that's what I want to bring. I want to campaign for better services, and I want to bring humanity and compassion to those services as well.
So what I would like to focus on, if I'm being electing for the position of Vice President, is first of all, besides students' mental health, I think it's also very important to look at the accessibility of counselling that is provided to students, because whenever a student's encountering any mental health difficulties, it is very hard to actually go out there and to find the therapy you need, because you can either go private or you can go for NHS, and the problem with that is you're just waiting for ages, and the waiting list is so long that by the time you actually get the help, you probably don't really need it. So what I think would be detrimental for the university is to organise like a mental health centre where students can access different type of therapies that they can find useful. Students can choose the therapy they are doing, and more up and coming therapies such as open dialogue, which is a type of dialogue that you are, and the type of therapy really that you are getting exactly when you need it within 24 hours from appealing to them. And you are actually getting support, because sometimes you might actually need that support to overcome an exam, to overcome a very stressful part of your life. And I think that the university should be there for you. And I think that as a Vice President for Welfare and Community, that should be the main thing to focus on. And also, I think that there should be more awareness upon mindfulness, and that should become a part of the academic curriculum, because you need to know how to overcome stress, and you need to know how to distract yourself from your studies sometimes, to focus on yourself and your well-being. And I think besides mental health, and considering that mental health is so strongly related to physical activities, I think that students should also be encouraged to practice sports besides societies, because maybe sometimes a society is not something for you because you don't feel the need to actually interact so much with students. And I think that students should receive free gym memberships for the entire course at the university, so they can take part into yoga or other recreation activities that will actually impact their mental health and well-being.
Well, in terms of the matter on mental health, I am a mental health advocate, and I'm someone who has experienced help from the university in terms of mental health, and I've seen other people on campus who have gotten support about mental health on campus. And I think generally the school is at its foundation point, they're doing what they can, and it's a good foundation point. But I guess what we can do is how can we now look into investing more into this? How can we expand into the services we already have in terms of mental health? And I think maybe advocating into increasing funds so there can be more range of mental health services. So in terms of the mindfulness, the awareness, in terms of what type of services, and then the level of how we can meet different mental crises, because they are the people who have, my colleague said, they're the people who it can be sensitivity, that's the case, and there can be people where it's more serious than that. So it's like, I think being able to kind of invest and research and put all our energy into like seeing where we can do better and expand more and give the students of University of Kent more range to be able to meet every type of mental crisis. I think that's something we can look into. And then I think another way we can also go forward in maintaining what we're having at the moment is healthy campus initiatives. So I know that Canterbury is known for the green spaces and all of that, but I think we can do more in terms of, like she said, having more areas where it's for, let's say someone's having, a crazy day, they have where they can go to that's completely quiet. They can meet people who are like going through that exact same situation and be able to relate to, like, oh, so you too, you're like this when you get overwhelmed, and then just more green spaces, more recreational facilities. I do know we have recreational facilities in terms of, hospitality and all of that, but maybe we can expand more into more dynamic sort of recreational facilities, mindfulness areas, and kind of recognizing that link between physical and mental health, like she said, with the gym. So I guess because feedback I did get from my own counseling was gym is important, working out is important. That's a really good way to kind of detox yourself and get your mental health right. So I think that's something we could look into. That's an initiative we can speak to the students and see with the university and the student, how can we get to a middle ground where we can kind of use this to kind of help students kind of let out all their stress and issues. And then, of course, I think is always important to kind of keep teaching the students on campus to understand what mental health is, how to take care of the people who are going through this, how to check up on people who are going through this, how to notice when someone is going through this. Like she said, it doesn't show in her face when she's going through something. So sometimes being able to kind of educate us more and more. We do have these things already, but I think going in more, investing in this more, and doing better and better and better, in which with feedback from students and obviously more research from professionals, I think we can kind of get to a point where we would really have the best possible quality of mental health support for the students in Canterbury and in Medway. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I would like to talk about accessibility. I think all of us have given amazing points when it comes to, giving students support in terms of mental health. I want to talk a little bit about what I went through and a little bit about what some other people that I spoke to went through when we tried accessing mental health support available at the university. Now, credit where credit is due. I think the student support and wellbeing team is very well equipped and does a great job at trying to help us, and not just in terms of how quickly they respond, but also in terms of the amount of information they give us. I think it's very, very broad, and it's absolutely a great job on their part. One thing that I think that could be done better is financial accessibility. Now, being an international student, I can in no way apply for disability, so I can't get on DSA, which means if I ever want to get diagnosed for something, or if I ever want to get an ILP or any form of, medical support, I would need to pay for it out of pocket. And it is not cheap. It is hundreds of pounds, if not thousands, depending on, where you're going. And if you go through the NHS route, you'd probably be waiting like 2-3 years, if not more. And those waiting times are just not accessible, especially as a university student, because your degree is just 3 years, and even less if you're, a postgrad student. So how are you going to wait 2 years for an ILP when you'll be done in 1? You can't do that. And you can't apply for an ILP unless you have like a paper proving that you need an ILP. And you can't do that if you don't have the money for it. And if you're an international student, you can't apply for funding for that. And as sad as that is, there's really no other way about it, because when I tried looking into available funding for it, there was nothing. There's nothing that I qualify for, primarily because I'm international, and most of the funding available is for home students. So I think something that the university could possibly focus on is set up, if not a large amount, then even a little bit, because every little helps. So even if it's a subsidized amount for international students to, access mental health support, it would still greatly help. Even if it's just a little funding, even if it's, case by case basis, even if we have to submit our statements and stuff, because the university right now does have hardship funding, and it is available for international students as well. And in order to go through that, in order to apply for that, you have to apply for your bank statements and, give a proper reasoning as to why you think you deserve it. And so I think if that exact same aspect could be applied to mental health services as well, it would be really, really helpful, because, cost of living affects not just home students, but international students as well, if not more, because we have a limit on how much we can work. So it's not just as simple as, pick up a few extra shifts. I can't do that because there's a limit on how much I can work. So, it's not just myself. There's tons of international students on campus that are currently, going through mental health issues that cannot access the support that is in place, that should be able to help them. but they can't because they just don't have the financial means for it. So I think as a community, we really need to lobby for some financial funding, for some help, so that, you know, they can access what is currently in place and then hopefully put on more as well.
Okay, as we are now out of time, we will maybe have some closing sentences from the candidates, and then we can move on to the next debate.
So for me, I just want to let everyone know that I've been a student, undergrad, postgrad, and in different levels. So I do understand what is actually needed for you to at least make the school experience easier for us. We only focus on academics, so I want you to understand that I've been there, I've been you, I've been where I needed someone to have supported me in this area. I wish this was available for me to make life much more easier for me. So I'm just want to prove that to you, and I hope I could get that chance to prove to everyone that I'm here for Canterbury students, for Medway students, and for every society. And I'm here to listen to everyone, even if you're that 1% out of 1,000 people that you feel that way. I'm there to be that support for everyone on campus. Thank you.
I just want to reiterate that my tagline is, I'm in it for welfare, I'm in it for you. And if that doesn't encompass exactly what I stand for, then I will just say this. There's a lot of things that I personally believe in, but if I'm elected, what I will stand for is what you believe in. So if you vote for Medina for VP Welfare and Community, you will see changes that you want to see, not just changes that I want to bring. Thank you.
Mental health awareness campaigns, EDI, making the university a kinder place, and student representation. Those are the reasons why I'm passionate about this role, and that's why I need your vote.
The reason why I'm passionate about this and the reason why I advise you to vote me and I encourage you to vote me is because I can be the one you can talk to, I can be the one who can understand you, and I can be the one who can make it easier to access the support that you need, to make you not be nervous about it, to make you be bold, to make you have your voice heard, and to make you have the best time of your life this time around at university, when it should be the peakest moment of your life and you shouldn't struggle. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for tuning in. So the next debate will be a Students' Union President. Thank you so much to the candidates. You've all been great. And yeah, see you in a couple of minutes. Thank you.
You can try, but I won't stop, won't stop. Won't stop. Won't stop. Won't stop. You can try, but I won't stop, won't stop. I can't stop. I can't stop. You can try, but I won't stop, won't stop.
So hello, my name is Henry. I'm the moderator for the debate today. We have two candidates here for the Student Union President, so we'll have the introductions now. So,
thanks. Is this opening statements?
yeah, just the opening statement.
Hi, I'm Lulu and I'm running for president because ultimately I believe in the students here at Kent. I believe in their passion, I believe in their ability, and I believe that they're frustrated. Many students I speak to don't know what Kent Union does, where it is, or who runs it, and the impact that it has. I've been an elected member of Kent Union Parliament for 2 years, and even I sometimes don't feel heard. I want to empower students by rethinking how the union interacts with us and making it serve us across campus. I'm continuously learning, and I'm trying to find ways to tackle the issues that really matter to students whilst listening to their causes and concerns, like inclusivity, the cost of living, and safeguarding students from changes at the university. As Women's Network Chair, I have already been elected and fought to represent all women across this campus, and I'm continuously learning more about the barriers faced by people across this campus by actively listening to what students want. I've worked closely with Kent Union and have a working knowledge of its processes, procedures and policies. I know its strengths, its weaknesses, where it's failing, and I know how to lead it.
Nice, I follow right after. Sorry about that, don't want to make it uncomfortable. Hi, my name is Joaquin and I'm running to be your student union president. Now, why am I here? Well, I've been working for you guys for, just like Lulu, 2 years now, but through different positions. I initially started off on the International Student Advisory Board and working as a global officer, kind of representing the international students here on campus. I then found my calling to be the broader student body, and in that passion, I found myself to apply to the role of student trustee. I've been on the board of trustees for almost a year now, and it has been quite the experience. It's the highest level body-making decision here in Kent, and I also serve on the Finance and Resources Committee, and all of that has given me a lot of insight into the ways in which they run Kent Union. Moving forward, I want to address a lot of the different challenges that us, the students, face, whether that be cost of living, transparency and accountability, or in general, just the democratic process here at Kent. There's a lot of stuff for us to do, but I really want to try my best in tackling all of your issues. So I hope you guys can work for me and we can lead Kent together. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for your opening statements. So we'll now move on to the questions. So the first question is, what, in your opinion, are the biggest challenges facing students at the University of Kent at the moment, and how do you plan on alleviating these? So I guess we'll alternate the order.
Thank you for your question. There are a lot of issues that I have heard today and yesterday, going out and campaigning and hearing what you, the students, want to change. But there's one thing that really stood out, and that is the cost of living crisis and kind of the role of a student union and how it should support us students through that crisis. A big issue has been food insecurity, and here on campus we have few options, and the options that we do have are only becoming more and more limited. Student engagement is also at an all-time low. We have to deal with these issues at the forefront, and we have to ensure that all students are represented through the changes that we see inside of Kent Union. Personally, for me, I want to create a farmer's market. I want to create and I want to add and I want to help. But there also is a balance to all of this. And the real important thing here is finding a balance that also puts what students want first. And I look forward to keeping myself accountable for all the things that I want to do. In general, there's a thing of transparency that is really lacking within this union. You guys don't know what they are, what they do, or how they do it. And honestly, it does become a bit hard, maybe even for the people inside of the union. What we have to do is we have to work together to show the union what we want. And I want to do that through bringing up student engagement, through talking to y'all, seeing different surveys, and just in general, engaging with the student body. This is something that's been missing and something that really, really is important for the union to change as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. No, it's okay. I would like to say I agree with a lot of that. Actually, I think that we can all agree that ultimately the biggest challenge students face is financial. By its own figures, the university is £66.5 million in debt, and this is having a huge impact on our education, the education we're paying for. We have seen the outrage of students due to the impending course closures, but it's not just the students from those 9 disciplines that are actually impacted by this. If lecturers don't have job security here at Kent, they will leave. Our lecturers include Nobel Prize winners and groundbreaking researchers. They have options, and the best lecturers will go first. They'll be the first to secure new jobs and leave Kent. And where will that leave your education? I believe this is a pattern that we're going to see not just in those disciplines, but outside as well, as both students and staff lose faith. Students are getting into anywhere between £40,000 to £120,000 of debt to be at university. And what are we actually paying for? Whilst this is a sector-wide issue, here at Kent, I believe a large part of this is actually due to mismanagement. And as your president, I would fight to hold the university to account and demand real transparency. Why are they closing those courses? What will they do to ensure the quality of any teach-outs? And why is the union not taking a stance? People are angry. Students need answers, and I'm prepared to fight for them. Secondly, it's actually becoming harder to afford to be a student. The cost of living crisis is real, and as students are often dependent entirely on loans and sometimes part-time work, they're some of those hardest affected. As a Member of Parliament, I know the union has been prioritising this in conversations with the university, but I believe a lot more needs to be done. Students have raised serious issues with housing on campus, the cost increasing higher than the rates of the private sector, and also in terms of facility and safety. Accommodation prices are up and value is down. Kent is not worth the rent. So a lot of students are actually struggling to feed themselves. ITV actually figured out that with the average maintenance loan, students would be left with 50p per week to live off after rent. That is insane. This means that more and more students have absolutely no choice but to work part-time, and the university needs to help accommodate that, and so does the union. We need to provide more opportunities for flexible work on campus. We need to make sure academic policy is facilitating students to balance work and study, and that we are holding the university to academic policy that they have set. They need to be held accountable. We need less pointless gaps in between lectures that make it hard for students to actually structure their day. And many students don't realise that their lectures should all be recorded. Finally, we need to address the fact that cost of living does not affect all students equally. There are different barriers for people from different backgrounds, and students with caring responsibilities as well as different socioeconomic status are going to need to work a lot more. We need to work inclusivity and equity into the solution, and we need a president who can manage this task. Students are unhappy, and if they're going to be run like a business, they need to look out for their customers.
Just a bit more of awareness for the time limit, but that's just a minor tip. It wasn't too severe. So.
Thank you.
So the second question is, what will you personally prioritize as SU president within your first 60 days in office, should you be elected? So you win.
Thanks again. It's a really interesting question. I think the first 60 days of the academic year are really actually about getting into habits for both students and the union. It's where people try new things before settling down. Now, regardless of who wins, we're going to be beholden to the student priorities. And, you know, they're not released yet. But a lot of people have been telling me this week that after freshers, they actually lose sight of the union. I want to focus on establishing the permanent presence of the union in students' lives. And a lot of my campaign revolves around reconnecting students and the union, most of whom don't feel represented. I want to put students back in the union, and I want to make sure that there are real relationships built through societies and student groups rather than newsletters and nights out. I want to do everything in my power to make it more convenient for students to engage with the union when they choose to and about the things they care about. We need a two-way system that is student-led. And furthermore, if proposed course closures do happen, then my priority will have to be on fighting for students for their quality of education to make sure teach-outs are not cop-outs. It is totally unacceptable for students to be committed to degrees and having no transparency or real student impact concerning the next steps. Lastly, as previously mentioned, I want to hit the ground running on cost of living on campus and make sure that every student knows what is available to them from day one, including bank accounts with arranged overdrafts, how to budget guides, university and national grants that are available to them and the ways to access them, and a centralised list of campus resources that can help cut costs. A good students' union is one that shows that it cares for its students and knows what it needs.
And that is exactly what I will do. I want to put the students at the forefront. Leading forward, hitting the ground running, we need to make sure that this union is actually here to serve you, the students. It doesn't necessarily make sense that Kent Union shows up at the very start and suddenly disappears. That's not the way things go, but we need to think to ourselves, why are things this way in the first place? Well, no student is going to want to be in a union that doesn't represent them, that doesn't create the change in which they see. Sure, it may go and fund the different societies and it may do all these important things, but they don't know that. There's no awareness around that. There's no marketing. The students are disconnected, and that is a major, major issue. So going into it, we need to ensure student engagement through change. Food insecurity is a major issue, and there's a lot of things that I want to do. I've literally just posted on Joaquin for Prez a few actions that I want to take, some of them including having a farmer's market here on campus, or even going on and expanding the campus pantry over to Parkwood. In general, it's things like these that will show that we care for the students, creating action, creating change that is visible to all students. And that visibility is what will make students care about Kent Union. We need to go out and immediately start getting feedback. We need to ensure that all students actually want to engage with us, that we're not just doing things from a top-down perspective, because I've been inside the organization and that's personally how I feel. We need to actually engage with the students in a way that makes them feel heard. And going down and doing this on a face-to-face level, like I've been doing campaigning all day, is what will show that change. And I bet even if we go and we survey and we could even try to get feedback through adding boards to a lot of networks. I know Lulu's the chair of a network, and actually creating policy changes through network boards like I have in ISAB would actually make students feel a lot more represented. And I personally feel that this is one of a lot of good things that we can do to actually democratize Kent Union and help all students actually feel represented in the change that they have. Through said boards, there will be actual political change, because when I've been in the board of trustees, it's felt like a student voice has been absent. And I personally don't feel like it should be that. I feel like I should be hearing from Parliament all the time and I should be seeing things that they push forward. But it's just unfortunate that the current way in which the political system is set up doesn't necessarily reflect such changes. So moving forward, we need to work together to increase engagement through these surveys and in general, maybe reanalyze our approach to democracy and reanalyze our approach towards food insecurity and help create a good change for all students.
Well, thank you for that answer. So the final question is, what would you like Kent Union as a whole to prioritize and focus on? So again, to alternate the speakers.
So I've been inside of Kent Union for a decent amount of time now. One, I think, major issue is the organization that I've seen. It's not necessarily like spreadsheet type organized that I've seen. Like there is organization inside. However, I feel like there can be more. Organization inside of organization inside of a union will bring transparency, solely due to the fact that we can keep track of different actions that we're taking. For you, we can make students aware of the things that we're trying to do, that we're trying to help them with. Lots of students right now aren't sure what they're doing solely because of lack of organization and outreach. What we need to do is we need to look at the way in which we've been reaching out and maybe think, okay, well, if what is currently working is failing and students are not engaging, then we need to completely change our marketing strategy. And in general, that's becoming more down to earth. That's getting direct feedback from people on what they feel, on how they act. And in general, this transparency that can be found inside of an organization will make people feel heard and represented. It is what we want as students. We want to be heard, and we want to see actual policy amendments and changes and action be taken based upon all of these different actions that are taken. And in general, I feel like with additional transparency, we will all succeed together. And I look forward to bringing that as your next student union president, hopefully.
Thank you. So regarding what the student union should prioritize, now ultimately it's the students who actually decide on that. We have set student priorities every single year, such as this year's cost of living, EDI, transparency and accountability. Now, whatever the students choose, I will get fully behind that. But there are going to be things, like I've mentioned, that I'm going to bring to whatever I do. So essentially, as Women's Network Chair, a lot of my job has revolved around champion inclusivity in a way that really addresses different barriers and the intersections between them. Whatever the student priorities are, we need to focus on how they affect different people differently. And we are we are going to need to restructure the union and make sure that every part of the union is making a constant effort to stay in communication with students and close that feedback loop. They need to be transparent and they need to be efficient in returning these statements. We need to make sure that students have access to the Kent Union, not just through surveys and boards, but through independent participation. If most students are connected to the university and the union through societies, this is how we can make it more accessible. Students have to work, they have other responsibilities, they don't have time to answer endless emails to a union that they don't ever meet face to face with. We need to put the interpersonal relationship back into that. And we need to make sure that students can contact the union through their societies, through their student groups, through their network reps, and through their student reps and through their networks. And we do need to make sure that these have a wider role and students are more aware of them. But regardless of anything else, what we really need to do at Kent Union is start taking into account what students are saying and making sure that we are not only being transparent in how we are responding to them and open and honest in our answers, even if they're difficult. But we also need to make sure we're getting back to a timely manner. If students are brave enough to ask us questions, then we need to answer them truthfully, honestly, and quickly. And we need to make sure that they are seeing the work that we're doing. And we need to make sure that we're listening constantly, not just at the beginning of the year, but throughout. Let them comment on exactly what we've been doing and tell us what we can do better, not just at the big fair and the freshers fair, but throughout the year. We need to be held to account just as much as the university does. Oh, sorry.
Closing statements. The final question. Yes, apologies for that. Yeah, but yeah, all the questions have been answered, so I guess we'll move on to the final statements now. Yeah, so how about we just go back to the starting order?
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much. I think, as you can see from both of our campaigns this week, students have very similar things to say, and the only difference is really who's going to deliver it and the ways in which we interpret it, as well as who we're speaking to. But regardless of any choice, you can see that people are genuinely upset about the union. Now, my job would be to listen to people and to make sure that the feedback loop is being closed, that people not only are listened to, but know that they are listened to and are reported back to. It can't be a one-way mirror. I want to continue to work on the student priorities that students choose, and I will get fully behind them. But I also know that we need to continue to tackle cost of living. We need to continue tackling transparency, not just of the university, but of the union itself. And I want to reiterate that inclusivity needs to be at the heart of everything that we do. It can't just be a genre in itself. It needs to be a way by which we attack all of these issues. I came from a place, Ashford and Canterbury actually, I'm kind of homegrown, but in Kent there isn't actually a lot of diversity outside of the university campus. I grew up in a place where everyone looked like me, and something that I love about Kent is the varied and diverse student community we have, with so many ideas and passions and talents, and we need to be making better use of those. A union needs to not just be run by a president, it needs to be run by the students, and it needs to take all of their talents and make it the best that it can possibly be. So let's put the students back in Students' Union.
Exactly. Let's put the students back in student union. Yes, that's something that's very important. But how will we do this? That is something that we must look at as well. Moving forward, I hope to make inclusivity, obviously, an important part. However, we have gotten an 84-page EDI report recently. We are working on that, and it's through things like that that has helped me meet different members of Kent Union and expand my own personal growth. We're still growing, all of us, and what we really need to do is we need to tackle these issues together. We need to ensure that us students are put at the forefront of the policies of Kent Union. And in general, we'll be doing this through feedback loops, through student engagement. We need to constantly be in touch with students, but not in a way that feels like we're spamming them. I personally have already started work on your emails. I've, been in the board and already submitted something that, will sort out your emails. It's going through the university at the moment. It'll be labeled, and those labels will then have different inboxes. That in itself is just a massive thing to help with organization. And this organization is what will eventually lead up to transparency. And that transparency will show the change that we're bringing. We need to engage with students from the very start, but we also need to ensure that you guys know what we're doing behind the scenes. Because there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that y'all simply don't know about. So we need to ensure that we can bring everyone together. It is a very diverse campus, and I kind of come from, well, I guess the opposite of Lulu here. I'm Peruvian American, grew up in DC, all the way on the other side in international school, so I've always been surrounded by lots of different people from everywhere. So it honestly does kind of feel like home here. And in general, Kent Union should help make this comfortable for everyone. This is all our home, and we should work together to make it better for us, the students. And I look forward to carrying that message forward with all of you. Thank you very much. A vote for Joaquin is a vote for you.
Well, thank you for coming, and thank you for your statements and answers.
You can try, but I won't stop, won't stop. Won't stop. Won't stop. Won't stop. You can try, but I won't stop, won't stop. I can't stop. I can't stop. You can try, but I won't stop, won't stop.